7 months ago, for my first ever video, I made a guide on Frostpunk, 5 tips on how to improve your gameplay. And I never really made another one for whatever reason, but I carried on playing it. And then 7 months later, I'm left with a question as to why I didn't. And it seems to have gained a load of new people watching it and asking when the next one is. And I know I said I was going to do a Book of Laws and a Automaton video and so much more. So here I am, 7 months later, with a new rebrand of the channel. We've moved over from Rifrost to Ri-Fi, and today we're going to be looking at Book of Laws and the best path to take on a new home, which is the first expansion. As you all know, there are 3 other expansions with a new one as well on the edge, and we're going to be doing a load of videos. I'm going to really put some time into making as many videos of Frostpunk as I can, because when I revisited it, I realised how good it was. So stay tuned, hit that subscribe button for more videos, and let's jump in. Right, so let's jump right in. I have taken my ugly face off the screen so you get to see in full screen what I'm doing with Frostpunk. So today we're going to be looking at the Book of Laws, which is hotkey L, but also you can press it down here as well, whichever's best for you. I prefer using the hotkeys, and I will be doing a hotkey video in the next couple of weeks on which buttons to press to get straight to all the different options in the game. But what we're going to do is we're going to play through a new home on normal difficulty, and we're going to go through step by step. So you might see the video skip from every now and again as I go from each law to tell you which is the best way that I do to finish the game with no issues and no problems. So let's jump in. Also, if you want to see that video on 5 tips on how you can improve your gameplay in Frostpunk, a lot of it is in the early game. I'll link that in the description, and also I'll pop it in the top right of the screen right now. But basically that explains how to start your early game really well and really efficiently to make sure that you get a good start in it. So I'm going to be doing a few of those tips in here as well, so you get 2 videos in one. So for those who are watching this video maybe for the first time playing Frostpunk, or for people that have played it a while and want to refine their gameplay to make it look amazing, this is going to hopefully cover for both. But for the people that have never played Frostpunk before, Book of Laws is essentially the laws that you make for your community to make it easy for yourself, and maybe not easy for them in some cases, but easy for you. So you've got things like radical treatment, where they'll look at if anybody's ill, they'll do everything they can to save them, which is a bit grim. You've got organ transplants and corpse disposal and child labour, where you can go to child labour who work all jobs and send them down to the mines, which in the UK was banned many years ago, but we're still doing it in Frostpunk. So these are, especially this tree, there's 2 other trees that you get later down the line, but this tree here is the main event. I would advise you not to pick every single one, only pick the ones that are suitable for you. What I used to do is I wanted to make sure that by the end of the game I'd have every single one of them picked, which first of all you can't, because certain trees prohibit you from doing other things, but you don't have to do them, because the main focus of this game is to make sure you get through with enough people alive, and also enough hope and discontent is 0, or as close to 0 as possible. And the only way you're going to do that is picking the right Book of Laws. So the first one you want to be looking at, always emergency shift. That allows you to do a 24 hours shift on any working building for 24 hours. It does piss off a lot of people, and discontent will rise quite a bit, especially if you do it in more buildings than one, but it is good to have there as a precaution just in case you need it. However, we're only doing emergency shift, so we get to extended shift, which just extends the working day for the buildings. So first thing we're going to do is emergency shift. And if you've seen my other video, you'll notice that I'll do exactly the same thing as I always do. I always go for wood, and I always go for coal. So every Book of Law that you give, or any law that you pass, gives you a 24-hour block, which means that you can't do another law for 24 hours. And you'll find later down the line, and if you've played before, you'll know you'll get stung by this before, where you have maybe somebody demanding that you do something, and you've only got a certain amount of time. There have been times where you can get stung by it, but we'll see how we go. Alright, I've done this on purpose now. This is a perfect example of when emergency shift is needed. So I have got it, so I've got no coal. I've got a building here that finishes work at 6 o'clock in the evening and starts at 8 o'clock in the evening, and it's only 10 o'clock now. So for those people that have never played before, what you want to be doing is, ideally you don't want to do this first turn of the game, but I've done it so I can show you an example of it. We need coal for the generator, otherwise everyone's going to get cold and sick. So I'm going to pop emergency shift, which means that, and you can see there, discontent rises probably about 25%, up to 25%, maybe 20%, but the workers will now go to work and work those coal, which is what you're going to need. So the shift is needed for when you need it in an emergency, hence the name emergency shift. And you only want to be using it on a one-off and only maybe on 1 or 2 buildings, unless you know you've got certain things that can reduce discontent. So we've got our next chance for Book of Law, and you know what we're going to be doing? Extended shift. Extended shift, I normally try to do that as much as I can. It doesn't raise discontent as much. It does make some people sick at certain times, but if you need a certain resource such as wood or steel, you want to be using this as soon as possible, because it's extremely important that you get all the resources you can, especially in early game. So we're going to sign that. Discontent will rise again, and also discontent will rise every time you activate another building with it. So as I said, you don't want to be doing it as much as possible because you will annoy quite a lot of people. Okay, so we are at our next point in the road. Next, which way do you want to go? So you've got a few choices. This section here will always help to reduce discontent. This on its own is specifically for food. It will allow you to create more rations for the amount of food that you have. So you get, I believe it's 4 per 2 raw food instead of 2 per 2. And also food additives, which I believe, I've never used food additives because I think it's disgusting, but it allows you to create a sawdust meal. But as you can see here, the blue gives you the benefits, reds give you the negatives. And both these two will give extreme negatives. But a top tip, or a sneaky tip for people that haven't played before, as soon as you get public house will help reduce the discontent that you get for people eating soup, because what happens is every time somebody eats soup will cause continuous discontent. So early in the game, you don't want to be looking at creating this amount of discontent, because especially in a new home, you've got people that eventually will turn to the Londoners because they want to go home because they think that our leadership isn't the best. So screw them. Don't give them more of an opportunity to leave as soon as possible. We're going to leave this section here. This section and this section is all about life and death. You can either choose to be a little bit crazy with the amount of sort of amputations that you do, and you'll have some crazy doctors try their best to keep them alive. And then you've also got the options for extra rations for the ill, which is a nice part, or overcrowding, which means more sick people go into the hospital at any one point. So Stay in Life looks towards the good side of it, where you create a care house and then eventually you get prosthetics, which means if somebody gets amputated, if somebody loses a leg, you can create prosthetics for them. I tend to always go down this Sustain Life option to get the care house and the prosthetics, because there have been times where at the end of the game I have got 15-20 people with a leg missing, and 3 of them or 4 of them are engineers, which really does reduce the amount of opportunity I have for helping people and also building stuff. This section here is all about ceremonies. You can either choose to dispose the corpses and then look for organ transplants, so if somebody needs it. Radical treatment and organ transplants work really well, but I always try to go down the cemetery because I'm not savage. And then you're up to the child labour. So I always tend to do 2 things. So child labour safe jobs will allow you to go look at all jobs, and then if you create child shelters, it will allow you to go down here, which allows them to be medic or engineer apprentices. Now I tend to always go down this route because having engineer apprentices so early on in the game does give a little bit of a boost to technology. So we're going to do child shelter, which gives us a load of benefit. It increases hope, which is good, but it means we have to build a child shelter, which has a base heating level of 2, so we can put it second way back. The next video I'm going to make, for a little bit of a sneak peek, is a tech tree guide, because tech tree is a whole video in itself. So yeah, Frostpunk is a fun game. It's all about fine balancing. It's all about making sure you've got the right amount of resources, the right amount of luck as well, because some of it is luck. And you have fun, because this game is such a fun game, and you want to enjoy it, and you don't want to stress. So you watch this video, and hopefully we give you some good ideas on what you can do. Okay, we're up to our next Book of Law. We're up to our next law. I'm not going to keep calling it Book of Laws, because over and over again it's going to get quite a tongue twister. We've got two choices here. So we built ourselves a child shelter. Now we have the opportunity to become medic apprentices or engineer apprentices. Now remember, as soon as you pick one, you cannot go to the other one later on in the game. So you want to make sure you are going to pick the right one. Now further down the line, you get an option to pick two things: law and order, or I believe it's spirituality, which is a second tree, which you get in this game mode and a few others, which gives you an extra boost. Now you want to be looking at the opportunity of which one you want to go for, and you've got to tie that in with your second tree. I always tend to go down the spirituality and religious thing because hope is so easy to lose but hard to gain back, whereas discontent is so easy to drop but you do get a lot of it. And now with the religious tree, you get the opportunity to get rid of hope completely, in the sense of you control hope because you've got full religious, and everybody hopes never go down. Everybody's hope never goes down. Whereas the law and order, it's all about discontent and how to keep that. And then you can get a hope, but in my experience, you tend to find that the law and order one, you need more workers to accompany the buildings needed to uphold the peace. Whereas with the religious route, you don't need that. You don't need that many people. You need probably 5 faith keepers. We'll go further with that later on in the video, but I always go down that route because at the end game, where it starts getting very cold, you're going to need workers for resources over law and order, and that's when you start getting issues. So always go down faith route. And because you can go down the religious route, you can have a specific building which heals people, House of Healing, where you can have workers to go in and heal. So we're not going to go down medic apprentices, we're going to go down the engineer apprentices. They will help people in the workhouses or the workshops, that gives them a boost to research. And especially in early game, research is extremely important to make sure that you can get ahead of the game. It's probably important to say that what you want to be doing is finding the route which is best for you. So what we're going to do is, in saviour of making this video a 20-minute video whilst we wait for the things to reset every time, we're going to use the power of editing, and we're going to skip in a minute. But I want to say this: there's a few things that you want to look at as a priority. This section here you don't want to be looking at until it's needed. This will reduce discontent, but it won't help hope. So what you want to be looking at is probably later on in the game, because the biggest thing about discontent is that when the temperature rises, discontent will always drop. Always. Especially in early game when you've not got the heat sorted, but every time that the heat rises, that will always drop. So doing laws early game to help the flow of discontent is pointless, because that will fluctuate throughout the game continuously. What you want to have is buildings that look at improving resources or improving workhouses or improving things like that, and then eventually focusing on hope. And the other important thing you want to be looking at as well is that don't rush laws just for the sake of it, because there are some things that it's the age-old saying, don't do anything until you're forced to, and it's quite important to do that in here, because rushing down certain trees is pointless, because you don't get the additional benefits from them until further on later down in the game. So this bit here I'm going to leave, and this bit here I'm going to leave. Nobody's dead, so I don't need to build a cemetery. That's only going to take up another plot that I'm going to have to heat. And then if people go to the cemetery and so on and so forth, they could freeze and get ill overnight, because people walk at night time and they could walk to the cemetery. Even if there's nobody in there, as soon as you place it down, you're going to have people going there. So it's pointless. Radical treatment or sustain life. If I put sustain life, then I'm going to have to build a care house. I don't need to build a care house because nobody's really ill. I don't need to look at radical treatment because nobody is so ill that they need somebody to sew their leg together or something like that. So what I'm trying to say is that at this moment in time, there isn't anything until later on in the game that I need to click. I've got the main bits. I've got the engineer apprentices and child shelter, and I've got the extended shift. Right now, until maybe day 15, there's nothing I need to do. So with the power of editing, I'm going to skip to when we need to do a law. Okay, so with the power of editing, we have skipped to, we're on day 7, I believe we are now. I'll check after this. But we've got somebody who is gravely ill. So you can either get them to chop legs off and give them all sorts of experimental drugs that they've created and all things like that, or you can sustain the life just enough to build an infirmary, which is what we're going to do. So we're going to build ourselves a sustain life, which then we can build a care house, because as soon as you do sustain life, you need to build a care house straight away after, because they will take up medical beds. There's not much you can do with them because we don't have an infirmary, but we'll keep them there until they die. So what we want to be doing is shipping them off to a care house straight away to bring in more people who might be ill. So that's the next step. Sustain life, and then in 24 hours build a care house. Something as well we want to be looking at is that there are going to be times where people will try to force you to sign certain laws. Now, as an early player, it can be quite intimidating to see that you might have discontent really high, hopes really low, and then somebody's threatening you to build a cemetery or something like that. But what I would always recommend is say, okay, I'll look at it, but there is always a cooldown. There's generally a cooldown on everything that you do, and especially with the laws, you can say yes, you'll do it, and then it'll come up as a quest with a timer, and you've generally got 2 days to pass whatever law you want in. So for example, if you're looking at so let's say in this scenario we had sustain life and we need to build care house straight away, because if not we're going to build up as many people in medical beds and other people are going to be ill, but somebody wants a cemetery, you can say yes, I'll build that cemetery, and it'll give you 2 days to do it. So you don't have to immediately press that if you've got a plan in mind. And it's always important with the Book of Laws to have a plan of where you want to go for future gameplay. It's all about planning this game. You want to make sure that you get the right plan, the right step by step in mind. Otherwise you'll just be going all over the place and looking like a frantic chicken, and you will eventually get kicked out of your own community, which I've done plenty of times, believe you me. So the next step before we look at the law is to forward plan, and that's in one of the videos that I did before about forward planning, because all you want to be looking at is making sure that at the end of the game you've got as many people alive, nobody ill and nobody hungry. But because this is a Book of Law video, there's certain steps that we need to take to make sure we plan for what's about to come. So my first scout has just found the Lost Expedition and brought them back to our city. Now, the Lost Expedition are the Londoners that will eventually cause you to have to fight for your followers to not leave and not kick you out. And there's a few steps that it's either time-based or how far you can go with your scout. So around day 10 and 11, you will have somebody come up on your ridge around here and die or get ill, and they'll say winter home, which is down here. Winter home is a failure, everybody's died, and people start panicking. So it's a bit of a time race. It'll either be day 11 and you automatically get the pop-up, or by the time your scout gets to about here, you'll start having somebody start kicking off and say, we need to go back to London, everything's doomed here, blah blah blah. And that's when you'll need to unlock the next section of Book of Laws. So what I'm going to be doing right now, because at this moment, unless another pop-up comes up before that and a new law needs to happen, remember we're going to build a cemetery next, but until that happens I'm going to shoot forward on this video till that thing happens where somebody dies, and we're going to have to look at the next section of the Book of Laws. So for this moment in time, with the power of editing, we'll skip forward. So we are one step closer to people start kicking off. The deserted bridge where you find your automaton is the first step to people starting to doubt, and it's like the first step on like 3 steps before you start getting Londoners to happen, where the automaton is found and people think, oh, why isn't the automaton in the care of an engineer? What's going on? People are starting to get anxious, which means eventually hope isn't a problem right now because hope's quite high, but we're going to have a issue very soon. Now we are at the final step in the road before people start to kick off, before the Londoners start rising up and causing chaos in your community. But what I would recommend before you do that is you've got the choice, winter home or the coal mine. Now the coal mine, if you don't dismantle it and take the stuff, will give you a outpost option to deliver, I believe it's 800 coal per day. In my game currently, I don't have any coal thumpers, I've got no coal mines, and I've just run out of resources for coal, but I've got 830, I've got about 4 days worth of coal, and I'm only steam level 1 and it's about to get warmer. So I'm in the current process of building myself an outpost, so I'm going to send my guys over to the coal mine and then send them to Winterhome and prepare for the next step of this video. So we've explored Winterhome. Winterhome is completely empty and we realise we're on our own. Nobody's here. People are going to start panicking, hope is going to fall, and the Londoners are going to rise up. And just like that, as if I knew it was coming, everyone's sat around the generator looking at me, screaming, what's going on? Everyone's, run our own. But we're going to skip that. We must give these people purpose. We have a path. We have order and discipline, of faith and spiritual strength. Now, I am not a religious person in any way, shape or form. However, I always go down this route because, as I said, order and discipline. I'm not going to click on it because as soon as you click on it, you can't go back. However, order and discipline will go into a load of different opportunities, such as watchtowers and certain buildings that put propaganda around the place. It's very, very horrible, like. But the buildings will require a lot of manpower. Okay, so we are we've gone down spiritual, and we have so many different options. So we're going to go into that. So House of Prayer. House of Prayer gives you have to build 2 buildings, but once again, you don't have to power them by anyone. There's no manpower needed. It just sits there, and you put them near the people who live. So near your tents, near your bunkhouses, near your houses, and they will increase their hope. Hope is the most important factor that we need to look at. So we're going to build ourselves the House of Prayer. And now we have our Londoners. So our Londoners are the pain in the arse in this game mode, which basically, this little arrow, the circle arrow here, dictates how many people will leave or stay. Currently we've got 8 people who are part of Londoners, and we've got a time of 14 days. So essentially what that means is we have 14 days to make sure that we end up having no Londoners. And that is dependent on this little arrow, and this little arrow is all dependent on the purpose that you set. And you can't see yet, but up here you can create yourself a new faith. Now, as crazy as that sounds, but if you create yourself a new faith and you rush to as far as up there as possible as quick as you can, you will eliminate the hope and create a new bar, which means hope can never ever go down, and the Londoners will disappear. And this is where the importance of making sure the gameplay is perfect until that point. So once again, I will mention the video that I mentioned previously that I made, which was 5 tips on how you can survive Frostpunk into the end game. I'll put that link above again and down below. Head over to that video to make sure you can set yourself up early gameplay to make sure that when you get to this point, you don't need to sign any laws on the basic set, basic tree. You've got everything sorted, and you'll never need to, and you can just focus primarily on purpose. Okay, we've got our next book of law. I keep saying book of laws, I need to stop that. We've got our next law. So we've got 2 different options here, 2 different routes we can take. The easiest step to get straight to the new faith is just going in a straight line all the way up to the top. I generally go to Evening Prayers, Temple, then look to the Faith Keepers. They're the ones when the Londoners start getting a bit angsty and a bit risky. They start kicking off. Faith Keepers go in and beat them down and show them who's boss. Or you can look at shrines and these 2 options here, House of Healing and Field Kitchens. Now it all depends on your current state of gameplay and what day you're at. So let me pause it and show you exactly what I mean. Right now we have 258 food rations. We've got no raw food, but we've got 2 hot houses. Discontent is quite, medium, and hope is quite low. Shrines, you can build shrines to put around your workplace and boost morale in a religious way. It's a bit like the other option, the other tree, which is like propaganda, but it's religious propaganda, so we'll let it slide. And you build these shrines around the workhouses and all the buildings that people work in, like your workshops and things, and it increases hope. And then it'll go to the next option where you can build House of Healing and Field Kitchens. These 2 are both. You can pick them both. House of Healing will help people who are ill. They don't require engineers; they require normal people. And depending on what you've got going at the moment, if you've got anybody free or if you've got an influx of people coming in, you can automatically put 10 people in the House of Healing. They will not only increase hope at the same time, but heal them. Not as quick as if you had an infirmary or a medical post, but it will still do the same. The other option is field kitchens. So if you've got a cookhouse, you've got a lot of food, but there's a lot of people starving. Cookhouses, you can have the option of do 24 hours, but it will make some people sick and it'll annoy a lot of people. Field kitchens you can put around the workplaces, similar to shrines, and they will feed the workforce as they're going. So it'll help distribute that food as quick as possible and get rid of your starving population. But because right now there is nobody who is massively ill, there's nobody who is hungry, and hope for me is a little low, I'm going to go straight to the evening prayers and build myself a temple. Evening prayers give you an extra ability to improve hope, and it'll also convince a few Londoners to stay hopefully. So we're going to do that. So we've built ourselves the evening prayers, and we are a few steps closer, maybe 3 days, to completely wiping out the Londoners. Now I like to go for the temple. You can go straight to faith keepers, and as I was saying, you can go down this option if you need people that are ill or you need people that need feeding quickly. But the temple, it raises hope. Londoners will occasionally mend their ways, so it's a consistent passive way for Londoners to just change their ways completely. So you don't need to do anything, but it also gives you an extra ability, ceremonial service, which raises hope and comforts the discontented. But we'd have to build one. But we're going to do that now because I always go this path. I always go down the temple. And right here is exactly what we want. So we have notifications here that somebody's had a change of heart. So they were crying in the temple, approached him and asked if they wanted to see us. And because of that, they have converted their ways and they don't need to go to become a Londoner, which is good. And we've naturally gained a extra follower. We only have 11 people now. So currently we're on the up and up. Now what I didn't mention is there are going to be certain times where there's going to be events in the game that require you to use the faith keepers to keep the peace. So something like some Londoners have written some propaganda on a wall, and you can send in a cleric if you don't have faith keepers to help them, but that will only reduce hope slightly instead of reduce hope crazily. It doesn't have any option to disperse the crowd and not reduce anything, which is why you need the faith keepers. The faith keepers are the brutes of the religion, essentially, the brutes of your city. And they will go around and make sure that nobody's doing anything nastily, such as stealing food or fighting or creating propaganda and rising up. So what you'll find is as soon as we've done the faith keepers, and as soon as we've built ourselves the faith keepers, which I need steel to do, and then lastly our faith keepers have been built now. So this is the only building that will require somebody to man it. So we need 10 workers. Well, we don't have any workers. Got a few engineers, but at this moment in time we have a lot of wood, so we're just going to take those guys out of there, pop them in there. So we built ourselves our faith keepers. Now discontent will reduce quite a large amount, and then it will do a little event where the faith keepers are coming in and making sure that everyone's staying in line and everyone's following them, and we've got our religion and everybody's happy. So what we can do now is, because discontent is quite low and hope is sort of there, we can send the nighttime procession. So this is what you want to be using when discontent is high, but it isn't, but we're going to use it anyway just to get rid of it all at midnight. As soon as midnight hits, that discontent's going to disappear. And with that, this is a very important thing. So now we have our first opportunity to reduce. So that is going to continuously reduce. So in the next day, providing we don't do anything wrong, everyone's going to be with us. And the good thing is, as soon as you get into 0, an event happens where nobody else can join the Londoners. So it's not going to be something that you can mess up further on down the line and then they will gain more Londoners. As soon as you've done that, everybody's fine. So this is what the importance is of the Book of Laws, to make sure that you can get rid of it as quick as possible, because you don't want to be messing it around. You've got, I think it's 15 days or 12 days to get rid of them. You don't want to be prolonging that all the way through. You want to be working on the law tree as quick as possible, as fast as possible, to get to the end game very quickly without any issues at all. Because if you leave them, I've never got to the point where you have Londoners that have gone, but I imagine that hope will go, discontent will rise quite quickly, and you'll lose your followers, and it will probably get you to a point where you get kicked out of your settlement. Remember, if you lose your hope and raise as much discontent as you can, eventually you'll get given an ultimatum to fix it or get kicked out, and you will lose yourself to the cold, essentially. So these things are a little bit further on down the line that cause you not to do that. And there we have it. So everybody's abandoned their followers, abandoned the Londoners, and come back to us. Everybody's happy. We get a nice in-game cinematic, which we're going to skip, and a nice little pop-up to say everybody's happy, we're stronger. That's going to raise hope a massive amount, and discontent is low. So right now we're at day 21. We're probably about halfway through the game. Everybody is healthy, everybody's fed, we've got a massive amount of resources. Hope's almost at the 100%, discontent is 0. This is a perfect example of the gameplay that we need, but we're going to carry on going. This is what we're going to be going to, and we're going to fast forward to this point now because there's nothing else that I really need to show you other than this bit here. So we're going to fast forward. Now we are coming up to our final part of the gameplay. Now in this time of the last 2 days, I tried everything I possibly could to reduce hope and raise discontent, just to show you the cool things that you can do with this spec tree. However, I've clearly done such a good job that it's not even going to happen, unfortunately. And everybody seems to be really happy, hope is high and discontent is low. And we're up to our last bit. So this new faith is the one you want to go for. You're probably going to, some Londoners will die, but we haven't got any Londoners, so everybody's fine with that. And the goal is to probably get to this point before you have, before any Londoners are there. But it is an opportunity to get rid of all the Londoners because you'll just kill them all. Some people will be compelled to fight the law, so you might lose a few people. Last time I think it was about 11 people, but the good thing is that hope will never be a problem, and all the Londoners left that don't die have to come back to you. So if you've got to a point where you're having a really crap gameplay, instead of starting again if you're halfway through, just rush yourself to this new faith spec tree and everything will be fixed. So I'll just show you now. So yep, the faith keepers have been sent in to sign the law. Some people will die. We'll have ourselves a little bit of a procession. Religion is up, we're going to skip that. And everybody's happy. Everybody's cool. So only 5 people died. So if you had Londoners there, most of them will die anyway. But our hope tree has been changed to devotion, which means that whatever I do now, and this really helps in the late game where the frost does come and it's like minus 120 and a lot of people are dying and maybe there's no food, hope will never lose. It will never go down. So you can do essentially whatever you want, and as long as you keep discontent below 50%, you can't lose the game. And this is why I think it's the best spec tree to have, the best one to go down, because it requires very little need for workers. It's mostly all passive, that it just naturally happens, and it creates some clickable buildings that allow you to reduce reduce discontent when you need it. Whereas the other one requires a lot more workers, so it's probably for the people that know how to play a little bit more and like that tree over religion. But that's pretty much it. That is the spec tree you want to be looking at. And as you can see, I've still got a bunch of stuff over here that I don't really need to look at yet. Down up here is to reduce discontent, so if later on in the game in 3/4 of the way through discontent's quite high, I'm going to build myself a fighting pit, let them sort themselves out where the community just fight each other. And House of Pleasure, which will help discontent reduce quite a lot. But yeah, I really tried to sabotage the gameplay as much. I've not researched a lot into the tech tree just yet. Normally I'd be about here or here by now. I'll try my best to make sure to make it look as difficult as possible so I can show the real effects of the gameplay, but I couldn't. But there you have it, guys. And there you have it, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and write in the comments down below. Thank you everybody for the support for the last video that I made on Frostpunk. Once again, that is down in the description below. There's going to be loads more videos coming out in the next couple of weeks for Frostpunk, and I'm going to do all the different expansions, endless mode, and so on and so forth. There is so much to do in Frostpunk. There is so much fun to have, and I'm loving every single minute of replaying it again, and I don't want to finish that anytime soon. So once again, this is the Book of Laws. Next is going to be the tech tree, and there's going to be plenty more videos coming out in the coming weeks. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like it, put a comment down, hit that thumbs up. The more times you thumbs that video up, the more people that will see the video. YouTube will pop up and say this guy's doing all right. But until next time, guys, my name is Ri-Fi. I've been your host today, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.